Does some new kits, dynamic visuals, interactive content, very much of a muchness. Now, I'm not talking about the latest and last edition of FIFA 23. I'm talking about us. This is Talk of the Trinity. TOTT. It's in the pod. I'm really sorry about that. I couldn't resist. Back to another episode of Talk of the Trinity, and as you'll see, you can't see me. I'm being John Cena here. You probably can't see Baz either, though. I'll leave that decision to him. I'm sure he's done audio and visual because he'd want you to see how lovely his beard is. But to start off with, just to give everybody a little bit of reassurance and to know that Russell of the Cayman Island Lions is absolutely fine. Him and his family are okay after Hurricane Ian swept through and down their road before hitting Florida. We send our thoughts and prayers to everybody who's been affected by the hurricane at this time, and we pray that you'll be okay and that in the end everything will be all right. Moving on to matters at hand, and this Sunday sees Aston Villa take on Leeds United at Elland Road, a game that tempers have flared in over the years. There's been a bit of a rivalry there. Very strange rivalry, really. I think it was because we both thought we were the biggest team in the Championship, with Leeds nearly getting promoted a couple of times while we were in there before we eventually reached the promised land again before Leeds returned. But it's nice to have both teams in the Premier League. It's nice to be playing one another. And I think with this, you had the hostility of the Bamford-Harahan El Ghazi game, if you like. The game where Bielsa let us run through and score because, well, he said his team had cheated. And it was unsportsmanlike. So it was the right thing to do, really. Now, in recent years at Elland Road, we've done okay. We picked up the 1-0 El Ghazi win, as we say. Last year, we went there and we dominated them. Callum Chambers scoring the pick of a bunch with a curling beauty after Philippe Coutinho and Matty Cash had got goals. Who set up Matty Cash? Anyway, don't worry about that. But this weekend, it looks a bit different. Jesse Marsh came in. I was one of the first to say he won't last long. He won't last till October or the end of October. If I said the end, I could be right, but I don't think I will be. After seeing them sell Calvin Phillips and also Rafinha, you had to worry. But sometimes, when those star players go, teams know how to do things correctly. And Leeds at the moment seem to have got the right players in to solidify them again this season. For me, I would have thought that anywhere above 15th for Leeds would have been a good season for them, really, especially when you think about the two players that have left. They have signed some good players. Mark Rocha from Bayern Munich, Sinisterra from Feyenoord, and they just add to the dependable players like Luke Ayling. You've got Patrick Bamford, who it'll be a matter of time before we start scoring goals again and getting that England recognition you would have thought. And he'll be coming up against another striker who will be having or harbouring hopes of England's selection, and that's Ollie Watkins for the Villa. Watkins, the most likely, in my opinion, to be starting, and if it's a 4-3-3 again, I can't say that I'd blame Gerrard for having Watkins lead the line. We mentioned on our last podcast where we got the boys back Go and check it out, the season so far, if you haven't already. We mentioned that Ollie Watkins is the atypical modern day striker, someone who runs the channels, can get into the box, can finish, can set up goals. He's a nuisance. He's a wasp at a picnic, really, for defenders. Now, he doesn't have the goal scoring prowess that Danny Ings has, but we're yet to see the best of Danny Ings, really, this season, aside from his fantastic goal against Everton in the opening home game where we won 2-1. But Leeds, they're structured, they're organised, they've had some fantastic results, none more so than the 3-0 against Chelsea. And when you compare that to us, and our best result was really the 1-1 against Man City. That 1-1 draw coming a lot sooner than the Leeds one. They've been on the back end of a thumping as well to Brentford. Ivan Toney and his fantastic hat-trick. Again, I'm sure it's the same pundit who is normally right that said that he may get a call up for England. But anyway, again, I digress. We're here looking at this game, and Leeds, you have to say, are going to be tough to break down. They're probably going to want to attack us. They're going to want to get the fans on their side. So if we can, for the first 15, 20 minutes, keep them at 0-0, that will give us a massive, massive advantage in regards to the hostility of Elland Road. For us to do that, in my opinion, it's a 4-3-3 again. Regressively, unfortunately, we don't have Kamara, we don't have Dean, and we don't have Cash. Though Cash, hopefully, will be back in training next week. It leaves us a bit light defensively. Though we've been fortunate to see the resurgence of Ashley Young and how well he's been playing at right back. He's done the job that everybody thought he probably wouldn't be able to do at this age. He would be the right back that you would want marking prime Ashley Young. Let's be completely honest. He's played really well. And on the left side, you've got to think that Luda Augustinson comes in at left back. He's been frustrated with his lack of minutes. He's played 2 lots of 90 though for Sweden over the last week. So he'll be ready to go. He's got minutes in his legs. And then the 2 centre-backs in front of Martinez are likely to be Concert and Mings, both of whom have been looking good recently. Mings, player of the month for September, as voted by Villa fans. He has been really, really good, you know. And if he isn't going to the World Cup, then I really do despair. Esri Concert getting better match by match after the shaky start and end to last season. Seemed he was missing John Terry quite a bit, but he's playing well now. Those two look like the centre-backs that we want them to be, but you know that there is still potential there for them to grow. There's talk of Nakamba or Dendonka coming in for Kamara in that holding role. For me, I think it's Dougie Luiz's. I think Dougie Luiz comes in, shows what he can do. I know there's the contract situation, but he's the best out of them. He's the best out of them. You then have McGinn and Ramsey. McGinn's looking better. Hopefully he's on the left side rather than the right. Much better there, much more effective. Playing well and getting confidence for Scotland. And then you've got JJ Ramsey, who, you know, JJ Ramsey is a breath of fresh air, especially when he's feeling fresh. You get those 3 in midfield together, and the game could tick. It really, really could. Though I wouldn't be surprised to see JJ Ramsey as a sub, see Dougie Luiz and John McGinn as the 2 midfielders with Dendonka behind them. But only Stevie G knows at the moment. And then your attacking front 3. Ollie Watkins up front with Bailey on the right and Coutinho on that left-hand side. Coutinho looked sharp. He looked better than he had been against Southampton. Hopefully this rest over the last couple of weeks has only added to that. Leon Bailey, not the greatest performance against the Saints, but he's shown qualities this season that gets him into most Premier League teams. So that's my team, 4-3-3. Yeah, I'm sorry, Danny Ings isn't in the starting lineup. He's on the bench. He'll come on, he'll score, and then he'll prove Stevie G that he should be starting the week after. Anyway, that's a spoiler. In terms of the result, I think at this point of the season, going to Elland Road isn't a must-win. I think it's a can't lose. And for that reason, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I feel that Leeds will go ahead, we'll get back in front, and then they'll hit us with a late sucker punch and bombard our goal. And that we'll be relying on man of the match, Emi Martinez. But hopefully I'm wrong, and I'm hoping that Baz is a little bit more positive for you and not in an LFT type of way. So I'm going to pass you over to him, and at this point I'm going to say, cheers, Tar, thank you very much. I'm Villa till I die. Over to you, Baz Barrett.
Thanks, Will. And I'm going to start my Leeds United preview with some positive news, some positive stats to look forward to. Leeds did not win a game in September. Admittedly, they only played one at the start of September, and they lost 5-2 in that game. But they had more of the ball and more shots. So what to make of this Leeds United team so far this season? They've played 6 games. They've won 2, they've drawn 2, they've lost 2, they've scored 10, and they've conceded 10. So they are a team of, you think consistency, but some wild results has thrown in there. I mean, 5 of those goals they conceded were in their last game away at Brentford. They haven't lost at home, they haven't won away. I think some esteemed pundits predicted Leeds to be in a little bit of trouble this season. And whilst it's too early to tell whether they will be dangling near the relegation zone come the business end of the season, I think it's fair to say they've had a slightly better start than some would have anticipated. Some of their new signings have come into the team and hit the ground running. And there's always going to be that undercurrent with Leeds in terms of the Bielsa era. He was the hero, the man who finally led them to the promised land back in the Premier League after 85 years away, however long it was. And Jesse Marsch is always going to be seen, some Leeds fans, as the guy after. And current TV shows, comedy shows starring American coaches of English football teams probably don't help. But enough about Leeds. Villa on Sunday afternoon up to Elland Road. And the cliches about the atmosphere, always a tricky place to go, apart from last season where we won fairly comfortably, of course. And we are going, in our history, for the first time, I believe, to try and win 3 games in a row at Elland Road. But things have changed, as outlined for Leeds, since we last met them during the course of last season. And there's been a lot of change at Villa in the last, even just the last couple of weeks. Some injury problems really hitting Villa at the time where they were really looking to try and build some momentum after recent results. It looks like at time of recording that Digne won't play, Kamara definitely won't play, Cash may play, may not confirmed at the time of recording this. And those are real key injuries for Villa, especially Kamara, who's been probably the highlight of the season so far for Villa, the way he has settled in really well from the get-go and only going to get better. So hopefully he will be able to come back into the team firing on all cylinders after the World Cup. But unfortunately, in terms of it looks like any hopes he had of maybe being in that World Cup squad might be over. So Villa going up to Elland Road with a patchwork side, especially in defence. And in terms of a Villa team whereby the feeling this season, although it hasn't been borne out by the goals or the attacking stats particularly, that this is a better side in attack than defence, having the defence even further depleted is going to be a problem in terms of the most obvious statements that can be made ahead of predicting a football game. And I suppose also the Coutinho effect in terms of that creativity, not quite working for him so far this season in comparison to last season, where I think he assisted 4 of the 6 goals we scored against Leeds. So I think it's going to be quite a tough afternoon for Villa on Sunday, unfortunately. And in terms of the way Villa are going to set up, anticipating Dendonka's going to play for Kamara, is it a situation where we focus on defensive solidarity reinforcements as much as we can? On a positive side, we did keep a clean sheet against Southampton last time round. I anticipate it is going to be more the shape that we played against Man City than it was earlier in the season, where we were playing 2 strikers up front. I'd be surprised if we went and attacked Leeds. And I think the primary objective is going to be to keep things tight from a defensive perspective and try and take our chances on the break, which means, in terms of looking at who Villa may be playing in the more attacking positions, Jacob Ramsey, you'd anticipate he's going to play fit. Looked good for the England under 21s against Germany earlier in the week, and his pace and drive forward is going to be needed, I think, if Villa are going to get a result on Sunday. Do you keep faith in Bailey? Wildly inconsistent. I mean, summed up great goal against Man City. Not a very good performance against Southampton. Got hooked midway through the second half. I anticipate he's probably going to play if he's fit, just because he's frustrating, but he is the type of player, as demonstrated against Man City. All he needs is a moment to create something out of almost nothing, really. And I think Villa might not be getting the lion's share of the possession or the chances on Sunday. So you'd expect him to play. I'd also expect Ollie Watkins to play, just because of the defensive work that we anticipate is going to be required, and him leading from the front always, in terms of his work rate, does put him at an advantage in terms of these games. And just because I'm statutorily obliged to mention John McGinn in every podcast, as inevitably when it comes to International Week, the talk about what he does for Scotland against what he does for Villa, playing in a different position for Scotland, more advanced, generally speaking, than he does in the Villa team. Reality says, are we going to be seeing a more attacking John McGinn on Sunday at Leeds? No, we're not, really. I think we're not going to be making those dramatic changes. In terms of whether it is an option potentially for one of the home games or one of the away games we've got coming up against, in inverted commas, weaker opposition coming up, Nottingham Forest, Fulham. Maybe. I mean, it'd be interesting to see in terms of if that's what they've been working on the training ground, because there is clearly a disconnect between Scotland John McGinn and Villa John McGinn. And it is comparing apples to oranges, because they are playing in different positions, in a different shape, being asked to do different things. So difficult to translate from international scene to the Premier League scene, although no doubt Scotland fans are probably feeling fairly happy about his form for Scotland coming up with, will they be going to the World Cup? Check notes. No, they're not. So at least that's something. But speaking of what will be achieved or obtained or not, leads me on to the inevitable score prediction for Sunday. And before the injuries, I would have fancied us for a point, at least. But I'm just thinking, and also I have a reputation to uphold. A reputation which is being enforced by one person, Mr. Trinity himself. I've been slightly negative. I think, Leeds haven't played for a month, so that is a unknown situation in terms of, are they going to be as match fit? Maybe, maybe not, but they're not. They're going to be fresh, at least, if nothing else. I mean, Villa have had a couple of weeks off as well since our last outing against Southampton. So I can see it in the first half being not the highest quality game in the world. I think it's going to take a little while for players to get up to speed. Yep, putting it on the line. I think the injuries, haven't seen enough yet from Villa this season to know, do we have the character to go and grind out a result away? I mean, we haven't won away so far this season. Leeds, it's going to be a tough game. They're a completely different team to the one we played last season. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds, which is disappointing, obviously, for me to say. But yeah, I'm not convinced yet that this Villa team can get the business done away from home. And if I am wrong about that, then that is going to be the perfect lead up to the games we've got in October. Mentioned away games at Forest and Fulham, where the owners will be on us to go and get points. So a really big game for Villa. Start of the month, a lot of fixtures coming into this World Cup period. Hopefully, I'm wrong. But hopefully, one thing you have done is enjoyed this Leeds United preview. And another thing you can go and enjoy right now is you can go onto our Twitter page at Talk Trinity, whereby you can check out the latest Villa news, transfer rumours, other headline grabbing things from all things Villa. You can get yourself involved in one of our many polls that we'll be running. You can predict the score yourself. Will the Villa Twitterverse be predicting a Villa win, completely against what these pundits said? To be honest, you're probably better off going against us anyway. But the thing you will also be better off doing is going to check out our YouTube channel, Talk of the Trinity, whereby you can check out all our previous episodes, including our comprehensive Villa review, which we recorded with a little help from our international friends during the international break. So we got the thoughts of Dave of the Irish Lions, we've got Liam of the Qatar Lions, we've got Mr. Villa himself, Connor Sherry, and Cayman Islander himself, Russell Homer, who is still standing, literally and figuratively. So we send our best wishes out to all them. And you go and listen if you want to. If you don't want to view the delightful visages on YouTube, you can check out our audio providers, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, some other places. We're on FanHub, I think. But just leaves me to say thank you very much for listening or watching, or wherever you're consuming this. We really do appreciate all the listens, watches, likes, retweets, subscriptions. Really is appreciated. And hopefully, wherever you are on Sunday, if you are at Leeds, if you are watching on Sky, listening on the radio, or catching up later on, like I will be, hope you enjoyed a game on Sunday. Hope we do get the 3 points. Hope I'm wrong. But in the meantime, we will be back with you next week for our Leeds United preview and looking forward to the bumper set of fixtures in October. But until then, thank you very much for listening, watching. Much appreciated. And we will be back with you again soon. So, up the Villa.